Since starting this channel a little more than a year ago, I keep getting requests from viewers and from patrons. Would I make a video discussing my home studio, my hardware setup, what software do I use to create the content on the channel? So today I'm going to take a little time to show you guys how I do what it is that I do as far as producing my YouTube channel, what works for me. So today is going to be inside the making of DistroTube. Let's get started. Alright, the first thing we should discuss is the room I'm in. This is a very small room that I record in. It is like 8 by 8 or 9 by 9. It's a very, very small, really kind of like a guest bedroom kind of room, but it's a small room. This is a pretty tight space to do what I do because I actually have a rather large desk with 3 monitors, of course camera, lights. It's a pretty tight spot that I'm in. I'm going to switch scenes here in OBS to show you a little bit of the desk. I've got a second camera behind me. The audio may not be synced up with my voice, but you guys see, you know, my 3 monitors here. I've got an L-shaped desk. Of course, the L. I've got an L-shaped desk here, which takes up, you know, roughly about a quarter of this room, just the desk and, you know, this the 3 monitors, the tower that sits on the desk. You guys also see my laptops sitting on the desk. I have 2 laptops. I have this Toshiba satellite. Underneath it, I have my Lenovo ThinkPad. Typically what I do recording my videos, I usually have one of these laptops open, and I usually have a terminal program called CMatrix running, just for some background effects. Also for background effects, a lot of boxes are stacked up in this corner of the desk from equipment I've bought. You know, I've got the box that my Raspberry Pi came in, that my boom arm or swivel arm for my mic came in, the Rode Studio PSA-1, great mic stand. Got the Yeti box, you can't see it, it's a little off camera. I've got my GeForce 1060 box sitting up there that sometimes is in camera depending on how I have the camera set up. Got a lot of my mugs, you know, in this bookcase in the background, and really that's it. And then there's the door outside of this room because, again, this is a small room. But typically what I do with my laptops, let me go ahead and fire up the Toshiba satellite. So typically when I get ready to do a show, I start this laptop just to have something running in the background. I think a lot of people that do like computer kind of channels, you know, usually they're talking into a camera and you see their computers behind you. I can't do that because I have my computers in front of me for the work I do. But it is nice to have, you know, like a laptop or something running behind me for effect. It's just something I do. I also have some umbrella lighting behind me for better lighting. Of course, you guys have seen my Panasonic Lumix G7 camera. The camera. Really nice camera. So that camera with the lens that came in it, you know, ran me about $800. Not a cheap camera, but it did vastly improve the quality of video on the channel. It was a big step up from the Logitech 922 webcam that I was using, which was a pretty high-end webcam. I mean, this scene here, that's the Logitech behind me. Taking this picture here, it is really not a bad webcam, but it is not the quality of a good camera like the Panasonic Lumix G7. And you guys see the Toshiba satellite has finally got to a login manager. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. And that is Arco Linux, their BSPWM edition, running on that particular laptop. I'm going to open a terminal. It's a tiling window manager. And usually what I do is I make sure to turn off a screensaver because I don't want the screensaver to ever activate while I'm recording a video, because sometimes I record long videos. Sometimes I might be an hour or more recording, before I edit it. And I want to make sure there's no screensaver that's going to activate, because the only thing I want to show on this laptop while recording is CMatrix running in the terminal. So there in the terminal, I gave it a couple of commands to disable the screensaver, and then I activated CMatrix. And that is what you see running in the background of most of my videos here lately. And this scene here again, my triple monitor setup. What I typically do is I have OBS on the third monitor. You guys see OBS. OBS. I actually have OBS on about 3/4 of that third monitor. And 1/4 of that monitor, I have a file manager open to show me each video clip that's being recorded, so I can see if the recording's actually working. The main monitor, the second monitor, the middle monitor, that one is the one I actually do stuff on screen. So if I was doing like a distro review, I would have VirtualBox open on this second monitor. The far left monitor is typically what I would have like a web browser open, if I need to do any kind of research or reading. It's also what I usually put like the YouTube chat. If I'm doing a live stream, I've got the YouTube chat over here. Or if I'm on Zoom, I've got the Zoom chat also open over here for any kind of private Zoom messages, if I'm doing one of those free and open chat Sundays that I often do. So the triple monitor setup, it really works well for what I do. Once you get used to using multiple monitors, it's really hard to go back. Plus, multi-monitors really work well with tiling window managers. You guys know that I use the Qtile tiling window manager. And why does tiling window managers work really well with multiple monitors? I just mentioned kind of how I like my windows to be set up. OBS always taking up 3/4 of the third monitor, with 1/4 being taken up by the file manager, with VirtualBox being on the center screen but in a floating mode rather than a tiling mode, and then Firefox may be full screen on the first monitor. With tiling window managers, you can set up rules where these programs always open on the same workspace, on the same monitor, in the same spot. You can't really do that with most floating window managers. You certainly can't do it with the same kind of control. You can do it with a tiling window manager. So very briefly, I will show you. I have 8 desktops here in Qtile. I'm using the Qtile tiling window manager, but you could do this with i3 or Awesome or Xmonad or any other tiling window manager. My 7th desktop, if I Super 7 to go to the 7th desktop, it's called Media. And in Media, you see I have OBS open and I have my file manager open. This just lets me know when I hit start recording, I see a new file appear, so I know it's actually recording. That's why I have the file manager open. Also, sometimes I record something and it doesn't turn out right. Having the file manager open lets me immediately delete it so I don't forget later. If I have some kind of bad take where the audio was messed up or the video was messed up or I just messed up, I've already got the file manager open. I can go ahead and get rid of that clip and record a new video. Anyway, so this is my 7th desktop. I'm going to go back with Super 2 to go back to the 2nd desktop, which is www. Of course, that's for the web browser. I have Firefox hotkeyed here. Should open up full screen, and it does. And what I usually do is I put that on the far left monitor. So if I hit a key combination, Firefox, you guys, let me switch scenes. I just moved Firefox over here. Firefox was here. I just moved it here. Just with keyboard combinations. That's what makes this neat. And then if I wanted to, say, launch VirtualBox, if I was doing a distro review, I could go to the 5th desktop, the 5th workspace, which I have titled VBox. Let me show you guys that. See, VBox, which is Super 5 to go to that particular desktop. And now I have to actually open a launcher and type VirtualBox. I don't have it hotkeyed. But now VirtualBox opens on this monitor, and I can launch any of my VMs that I've already created or create a new one. And of course, all of this is being recorded by OBS, on this third monitor. So, what is the most important part of making good YouTube videos that people will watch? A lot of people will mistakenly say camera. Video quality. It's all about the camera. It's all about having good video. That certainly helps, but it is definitely not the most important part of making good YouTube videos. The most important part of making a good YouTube video that people actually want to watch and listen to what you're saying is audio. Audio is everything. You could have really crappy video quality, but if the audio is good, I can understand what you're saying, and you have something worth saying, I'm going to listen to it. Matter of fact, you don't even have to have video at all. Some YouTube videos are really audio only. If you've got something worth saying, I'll listen to it. But if the audio quality is bad on a video, people turn that off within a few seconds, right? If I can't really make out what you're saying because the mic is so bad, words cut in and out, I'm going somewhere else for that content, right? Or if you're messing up the sound mix, the volume's just insanely low, even with my speakers turned all the way up, I still can't hear you. Guess what? I'm going to go watch somebody else's video on that topic. So audio is definitely the most important thing. And with audio, there's two things we need to consider. First, hardware. You need a good mic, right? So that cheap USB headset, probably not going to work for you. Most of them are not good enough quality for this kind of work that I do here in YouTube. So what I did is I upgraded to the Blue Yeti. The Blue Yeti is a USB microphone, has a really nice sound quality to it, really deep, kind of rich, complex sound that I love, very warm sound. Love the sound quality of the Blue Yeti. In my particular case, the only downside is I got one of those Blue Yetis. It's a common problem with them, but the mini USB port that plugs into the top of this mic here is loose. It comes loose on me. It shorts out sometimes, and I'll record a clip and go back to listen to it, and there's no audio because that plug came loose. So that is a problem with my particular mic. I may end up eventually moving on to something else, but the Blue Yeti microphone, as far as sound quality, love the way this microphone sounds. Now, just because the mic sounds good does not mean that you won't occasionally need to clean up the audio in a audio editor. In my particular case, I use Audacity. Audacity is the best free and open source audio editor by far. Let me show you how I clean up some of my audio. So I recorded this little test clip earlier. I will actually open it here in VLC. If you enjoy this channel, please like, subscribe, and share. And look for DistroTube over on Patreon. I will play that one more time. I want you to listen to when I'm not speaking. Do you hear the background noise of the computer, of the central air and heat, background noise in the house? Do you hear a hum when I'm not speaking in that clip? If you enjoy this channel, please like, subscribe, and share. And look for DistroTube over on Patreon. Yeah, you probably heard that, right? So, here's how I clean that up. So, you open up your clip here, and you find a selection in the audio where you're not speaking. So, that's all these, basically flat lines. You got some other crud. That other crud there is the background noise of the room, background noise in the house, things going on in other rooms, things going on outside the house, loud traffic, trains going by, whatever. Then you go up here to Effect, and you go to Noise Reduction. And this little area you selected, which is just background noise, choose Get Noise Profile. That tells Audacity this is just extra crud, this is background noise. Now, click over here and select the whole track, go back to Effect, go back to Noise Reduction, and hit OK. And now it reduces all of the background noise. Those areas where you're not speaking now should be a lot quieter. Normally I could play this back in Audacity and show you that, but because I've got so much other stuff plugged in, audio input, audio outputs, it's not wanting to do a playback in Audacity. That's why I have VLC open. So let me export this as an MP3 really fast. So Alright, so again, this was the original audio. Let me play this one more time. Listen for the background noise. Oh. If you enjoy this channel, please like, subscribe, and share. Alright, you heard that. Now let me open up the one I just recorded that I cleaned up a little bit. If you enjoy this channel, please like, subscribe, and share. You hear that there's no more of that background noise when I'm not speaking. If you enjoy this channel, please like, subscribe, and share. So that is one trick you can use with Audacity, is to get rid of some of that background noise. Another neat little tool I like to use a compressor. What a compressor does is, naturally when you're speaking, sometimes you're louder, sometimes you're softer. Also, if you're moving around at your desk or whatever, sometimes you're closer to the microphone and it's really loud. Sometimes you're further away from the microphone and it's really soft. I didn't mean to say Microsoft. Wow. Freudian slip. Anyway, so how do you get these levels to kind of, equalize a little bit? Well, you go to this tool called Compressor. So once again, we select the entire track, go to Effect, go to Compressor. And I'm just going to use the default settings. I'm not going to explain what all of these settings are, because quite frankly, I don't usually change them. I just go with the defaults in Audacity. I hit OK. And now that compressor basically compresses the audio. Now let me go back and export this as an MP3. Alright, and one more time, this is the old audio. Let me go back to the original, that hasn't been filtered in any way. It still has the background noise. It's still not been compressed. If you enjoy this channel, please like, subscribe, and share. And look for DistroTube over on Patreon. And now the one that we've cleaned up with noise reduction and a compressor. If you enjoy this channel, please like, subscribe, and share. And look for DistroTube over on Patreon. Alright, now one last thing I sometimes will do is sometimes I will add a little more bass to the sound. So I go to the bass effect and I add bass. I up it about 5 decibels. Sometimes I also reduce the overall volume of the track, because sometimes when I record, I'm really peaking a little bit, so I like to reduce the overall volume of the track, usually about 3 decibels. So this is neat because you can both play with the bass and the treble, but you can also kind of amplify the sound a little bit, or in my case, kind of soften the overall sound a little bit. I hit apply. Hit close. Let me save that again as an MP3. And now, back to the original track one more time. If you enjoy this channel, please like, subscribe, and share. And now, the finished product, because this will be the last thing I do here. If you enjoy this channel, please like, subscribe, and share. And look for DistroTube over on Patreon. Yeah. So I hope it came across on the video what a difference that made. Now let me close Audacity out. I don't want to save any of this. Video editor, I use Kdenlive. Kdenlive is pretty self-explanatory how to use. I don't do anything too complicated with Kdenlive. I will show you like from a past video. So I recorded this video just the other day. This is taking into account. What I do is I take all of my audio and video clips and put them over here in Kdenlive. And then, alright, so I have my audio clip. This is the very first section of taking into account from this past Thursday. Now I don't use the audio from these MP4s because, again, I clean up my audio in Audacity and I save those as MP3s. Here is the audio I actually want you to listen to. This is the cleaned up audio. And then, of course, we want it, synced with the video. And then I just add the next audio, the next video, and so forth and so on. And then eventually what I end up doing is going up here, rendering this video. I like to render my videos as MP4s. You give it some kind of destination to render this, give it a file name, hit render to file, and it, starts rendering that video. And eventually you'll have this finished product. In my case, I render it as an MP4, and then I, of course, upload it to YouTube. Now, taking into account the other day was about a 40-minute video. A 40-minute video is going to take me over an hour to render in Kdenlive. It takes, I don't know, hour and 15, maybe an hour and a half sometimes to render the finished product. So I have to wait about an hour and a half to render that video. Then, of course, I have to upload it to YouTube. It probably takes a good 15 minutes for that video to be uploaded to YouTube. So, you know, this is very time consuming. I know some people don't like to see YouTube as work, but this can be a lot of work. Making this video this morning, I will tell you, I've already spent an hour or two, over an hour, maybe not quite 2 hours now, sitting here working on all of this, getting the cameras, the multiple cameras set up, getting the scenes in OBS set up here, lighting, everything. You know, rendering this video will take me probably an hour in Kdenlive. I'm going to clean up the audio in Audacity. Actually, I probably won't clean up the audio in Audacity. I'm just going to leave this unfiltered today. I think that would be good. That way you guys can see some of the difference in sound quality when I don't filter my audio through Audacity. Anyway, I hope that shows you some of what I do. The last thing I want to show you, I've showed you the audio editor, the video editor, shown you, obviously I record in OBS. You guys know I record these videos using the Open Broadcaster software. Pretty simple to use, Open Broadcaster, you know, pretty neat tool. And of course I can change scenes. You know, here's my ending scene where I thank all my Patreon supporters. Of course, the main scene. Of course, I have my intro here. Let's throw the intro in just quickly. And of course, I can fade into the main scene here. Really cool. Alright, so back to the desktop here. Last thing I want to show you, since I've shown you how I do my audio and my video thumbnails. I do all my thumbnails for the channel in GIMP. So most of this I've already saved. I've just got, you know, like these templates saved, like taking into account. You know, I've got a template here. Actually, I've already got one that's already got the names and everything. The only thing I have to change, well, I thought I had one. But basically, I've got a template for taking into account that's got the, you know, the blue background, taking into account episode, and then no number. All I have to do is pull this up, you know, the number, which this past week was 13, episode 13. That's it. So I've kind of streamlined the making of some of these thumbnails. But, you know, if I wanted to make a thumbnail today, as a matter of fact, let's make a thumbnail for today. I want to change the color because I just used this one for my last video. I'm going to select this area. You guys saw me select this fuzzy select tool. When I selected this kind of bluish purplish area, I'm going to go to colors. I'm going to go to hue saturation, this particular tool here. Let's change color. What kind of background do we want to go with? How about a purple background? Let's saturate it a little more or a little less. Heck, I could actually go gray. I don't think I've done a gray background lately. Anyway, do like a dark purple. That's not bad. Anyway, we could play around with the colors, but anyway, I'm just gonna go with this for now. Let's just do something quick. And usually what I do is I use this particular font, Impact Condensed. Impact is nice because, as the name suggests, it is really impactful. So what am I gonna name this particular program? How about Inside the Making of DistroTube? Now, that's pretty cool there, but it's a little too big. It doesn't quite fit in the space that I'm trying to fit it in. So let me adjust it a little bit. I think that works. Now what I'm going to do is change the font color to a really dark, almost black. Now that is unreadable, right? Of course it is. But that is going to be the shadow. So I copy and paste. So I'm going to paste one more time this here. Itself. This time I'm going to kind of have it offset for a kind of drop shadow effect. I've got, you know, this white and this light gray color selected here. I'm going to go to the gradient tool and let's do that right there. Inside the Making of DistroTube. How's that for a thumbnail? And of course I just export that export that. I usually export them as, I don't know, a ping file. So inside, well, let me see what I want to name it. Inside DistroTube. Sounds like a good name. .ping. Something I'll remember when I'm looking for it later. I misspelled it actually, but that's fine. Anyway, discard the changes there. Anyway, so that is a little bit of inside the making of DistroTube. Kind of what I do. I sit down here, you know, I get all my scenes ready in OBS. I always have to set up my camera, raise the tripod, get the preview on the camera turned so I can see it, so I can, you know, actually see the display on the camera. Usually fire up this laptop, you know, just to have something going on in the background. For lighting, I usually have at least one umbrella studio lamp behind me. Sometimes I fire up 2 of them if I need to. Sometimes I play around with the lighting a little bit. Sometimes I keep the room a little dark, especially at night. You know, it's kind of a nice effect if you're recording at night, doing a live stream in the evening, kind of, you know, being in the dark is a neat effect sometimes. So I play around with the lighting. But overall, that's pretty much what I do. If you guys got any questions, feel free to ask questions, you know, in the comments, or ask me questions over on Mastodon, those of you following me on Mastodon. And of course, as always, before I go, I do need to thank a few people. This show was made possible by Ansem, Carlos, Chris, David, Leo, Rob, and Tony. These, of course, are the highest tiered patrons over on Patreon. These guys are the producers of the show. Really want to give a special shout out to those guys. Also brought to you by the fine ladies and gentlemen. You see all of my Patreon supporters, their names on the screen. This show really would not be possible without those guys. So if you enjoyed this video, please consider supporting the channel. You will find me at DistroTube over on Patreon. Peace, guys.